Morning. So, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, first and foremost, I want to take the time to get to know you a little bit as far as where you are in your studies. So, where are you right now? What's going on? The good, the bad, the indifferent, and also I want to know what you want to get out of today's lesson. Like, if you said to me, "Hey, I need to get a better understanding of this topic, of that topic,"
Okay.
let me know so that we could go over that.
Yes. There are it's all over, like a little bit of everywhere. I get a little confused. Like, I feel like I know when I study all the information, and when it comes to the question answers, when I see like two, three similar options in there, I get a little confused, and then I have to like read them again.
Got it.
Um,
So what we could do is this. We could always just, go over, we could go over a bunch of things. We could just do, practice exam and then see what comes up, see what areas are coming up that you're really struggling in or some areas that maybe you're doing well in. You know,
okay.
we
Okay.
could do that. That probably is the best bet there. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have your test scheduled for California? Because I know that's all crazy right now.
Yes, I have. It's on Thursday, 22nd.
Okay, so you have that schedule. Good.
Yes.
So good luck on that. Let's get into the practice questions though. So what I'll do is this. I'll put up a question on my screen. Okay. What I
Okay.
want you to do is tell me what you think the answer is. And also, since you're struggling between like a couple of answers, what I
Mhm.
want you to do is I want you to tell me what you're struggling between. Like if you're like, oh, Stu, I'm struggling between C and D, let me
Okay.
know so that we could go into that. If it's something that I feel like you have a strong grasp on, we'll keep moving on. But if it's something I feel like we need to go over a little bit more, we'll do that. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's take a look at the first one. And feel free to ask any questions too as we're going over stuff.
Okay. Perfect. If I have a permanent right to cross your land to get to my house, my property has a certain tenement, dominant tenement, license, or easement enclosed. Um, right to cross over. So dominant tenement.
Okay,
B.
so the dominant tenement. So tell me what is a license?
A license is it's revocable. If someone gives permission to use your property.
Yep, that's it. So it's use of property that would be revocable as opposed to an easement, which is not revocable. Okay, that's something that runs
Right.
with the property. So,
Okay.
all right, so you got that one pretty good. Let's keep going.
Which of the following factors are not considered a cause of obsolescence? It's wear and tear.
Wear and
C.
tear. Okay. So what are the two
So
types of obsolescence that you have?
we have functional obsolescence and economic obsolescence.
So what would
And the
functional obsolescence be?
functional would be if there are like 4 to 5 bedrooms and just one garage, or maybe no garage, or less bathrooms. Uh, so
Yeah,
it's not, yeah,
it's basically because of the function, it's obsolete, right?
right.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. What approach to value would we use this in? When would we use this in one of our appraisal methods?
The functional,
Well, any of the obsolete, any kind of depreciation. When would we use depreciation? Which one of the approaches to value would we use it in?
uh, market data, market
Wouldn't do
data
it in
approach,
market data. There's another one that would be a better answer.
cost approach.
The cost of proof. Because what they do is they depreciate the land. I mean, they depreciate the building, but not the land, right?
Right. Okay.
So they would do that. So that's when depreciation would come into a factor in regards to appraisals.
Okay.
So let's keep going.
A builder wants to offer financial assistance to prospective buyers but does not want to lower the price of the homes. Instead, the builder agrees to pay a lump sum in cash to the lender at closing so that the buyers will enjoy a lower interest rate. What type of loan is this? Equity, participation, buy down, or open end? So a builder wants to offer the financial assistance to the buyers but does not want to lower the price. Instead, he wants the cash to the lender at the closing. Um,
So what do you think about this one?
enjoy a lower interest rate. This one. Um, Equity is it's for the owner. It's the difference between the
So you think it's
the
equity or?
no, I don't know. I maybe buy down because it lowers the interest rate when you buy down the points.
Yeah. So whenever there's a lump sum where they're lowering the interest rate, that would be in the form of a buy down. Okay. So what's a point on when we're talking about financing? What is a point?
In financing.
Yes, it is. It is fine. It is financing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what is, so like if I said to you I had to pay a point,
Yes,
okay,
one
what is that? How
point,
do I know what
one
that?
point, 1 point is the 1% of the loan amount.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. All right.
What is a fee appraiser? Um, it's an appraiser who works on the fee basis, an independent appraiser. D.
Okay. So, what are the three approaches to value that an appraiser has to consider?
It's the market comparison approach, cost replacement approach, and uh, how could it say? What was that? I just forgot.
The income approach.
Market
The income.
income
So let me ask you
capitalization.
this: what types of properties would an appraiser typically use the income approach?
Residential. No. The like for example, the shopping centers and like the one who is producing income, like apartment buildings.
Yeah, so like commercial spaces would be using that, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, commercial spaces. What about the cost approach? When would that be appropriate to use?
For the new buildings,
Okay, so new construction would definitely be one scenario.
for that I have a question for the cost approach.
Yeah.
So there was a question which said that this is a newly built apartment building which is 1 year old. So what approach will they use? Because of the
Income.
newly built, I checked the cost approach, but I thought it was um, basically the cost is like for the calculating the cost of making or replacing a new one. So I didn't thought it was about
So
for
here's
the
what I
one
need to tell
already
you.
built.
So the cost approach is used in new construction,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not always the reason why they use it in new construction is because there's typically no better way to do it. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But if it's producing an income, then the income approach would be the better way.
Okay. So if the building is old, like a very old building, they would use a cost approach there as well?
No, I wouldn't. It depends on the situation. If there's no income or no no comparables, then maybe. But the problem there with the very old building is you have a lot of functional obsolescence to depreciate for, and that's very hard to calculate.
Okay.
So you're talking about a building that's functionally going to be depreciated down like a ton. So that's not necessarily the easier way. If there were comparable sales, or if there was income producing, so let's say it was a very old building but used as like a restaurant, then I would
Mm-hmm.
use the income approach.
Okay.
So let's look at the next one.
A valid contract employs someone to do specific legal tasks which involve representing the interest of the clients to third party. What kind of relationship is created by the contract? Fee simple, less pendants, agency, or what is agency?
Okay. What is list pendants?
It's when the lawsuit is pending. It
Yep. It literally means legal action pending. Yep.
it prevents the property for getting a sale, like from
Well,
selling.
it doesn't necessarily. If it creates a cloud on title, it would. But a list pendants in itself would not prevent the title from passing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, uh, but if it creates a cloud on title, it would.
Okay.
So it depends on what the list pendants is, what the legal action pending is.
Okay.
So let's look at the next one.
The covenant in a deed which states that the grantor is the owner and has the right to convey the title is called covenant of warranty forever, covenant of fixing, covenant of further assurance, covenant against encumbrances. It's B, covenant of fixing.
Okay, the covenant of season, which means to
Season,
sit upon
season.
to own, like to seize it.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's correct. That means that they have title.
Oh, okay. In an installment land contract, what type of title did the seller retain? Legal title.
Yeah, they retain legal title in the installment contract. Good, good, good. Keep going.
Okay. So the following list the essential elements of the enforceable contract. It's tender, consideration, deposit, performance, execution, consideration, mutuality, competence, acceptance, consideration, performance, lawful object, competency, mutual consent, or D.
What's a unilateral contract?
Um, it's a one promise contract from just one party.
Okay, what party is the one that's bound to it?
It could be, uh, uh, for example, it can be the open listing.
Okay, that's a good example of one. But what party? Who is obligated to that?
Agent or seller.
Maybe. I mean, so it would always be. So here's the thing. I'll give you the better example.
Okay.
Whatchamacallit? It would be the option or the one who's giving the option.
Oh, okay. Right.
So whoever's giving the option. So like in a lost dog, it would be the dog owner. In a open listing, it would be a in an open listing, it would be the seller. Okay.
So,
When you're giving an
okay.
option to purchase, it would also be the seller. So
Okay.
next one.
Vivian wants to fence the yard for her dog. When the fence is erected, the fencing materials are converted to real estate by the method of severance, adaptation, attachment, or subrogation. Um, adaptation. B?
Okay. C?
No, I said B.
D?
Yeah. Oh, C.
Yeah. So what happens is it's going to be attachment. So
Attachment. Okay.
when you convert personal property into real property, so you convert it into a fixture, they're going to
Okay.
call that attachment. So what's the opposite of attachment?
Severance.
Seven.
Severance.
Yeah.
Like
So
removing it.
yeah, so adaptation wouldn't be the best answer here because adaptation is one of our legal tests of a fixture, right?
Right.
So what
Okay.
happens is what adaptation is this. Adaptation is what is this in relationship to the party into to the property now. So what adaptation has this taken on to the property? Like if I go get a mailbox from Home Depot, okay, and then
Okay.
I attach it to the property, that is now the mailbox for the property. That's the adaptation that it has.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the situation there. Let's
Okay.
go to the next one.
The buyer gives the owner a $22,500 payment and a written agreement stating that on June 1 of the following year, the buyer will purchase the property for $475,000 cash, or the owner may keep the money. This transaction is known as a limited partnership, an option agreement, a lease with an option to purchase, a purchase contract with a delayed settlement. So, um, maybe, mm, maybe B or C. I'm confused in this one a little.
So let me ask you this. Why would it be C?
Lease with an option to purchase, because he's making a payment, but he will buy that later on, following year. See,
So you want to go with C?
I think so.
So it's just an
Oh,
option. So what happens is this. It's because there's no lease here,
oh, okay.
right? Because there's no lease here. That's why I was asking. I was like, oh, why would it be a lease with an option to purchase? Because
Hmm.
there's no agreement here that says that they're leasing it, right?
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's just going to be the option contract. Now let me ask you this. What's a bilateral contract?
A bilateral contract is a promise for a promise, and one person make a promise for in exchange for another one.
Yep, perfect. Perfect. All right.
Okay,
Let's
thank you.
go on to the next one.
A recorded deed must have been acknowledged, creates presumption of delivery. All of the other options are correct, or gives constructive notice. D. Gives constructive notice. It's D.
Does it have to be acknowledged?
A deed? No.
A deed doesn't, but a recorded deed does. So all the options
Oh.
are correct.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is this: if you've seen my deed webinar, you see that I always say you don't need to acknowledge it for. It's not one of the necessary elements, right? It's
Right.
never one of the necessary elements for a contract, but it is necessary for it to be recorded.
Okay. So if
Yep.
it's a recorded one, then it has to be acknowledged. Okay.
Yes, 100%. So what is constructive notice? What is that?
A constructive notice is when it gives tells everybody that it has been recorded and this has been done. Like it gives publicly the
Yeah.
um,
So basically, it gives public notice to a fact of some sort, or to an instrument, to a written instrument, something like that. So it gives
okay.
public knowledge to that. So
Okay.
next one.
The primary justification for zoning ordinances is to promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, control the quality of building construction within a zoned area, maintain the physical conformity of buildings in the zoned area, or prevent an oversupply of certain types of business enterprises within a zoned area. It's A.
Yeah. So where does zoning fall under in our government powers?
Police power.
Police power. Yep. So basically, it's for health, public safety, and general welfare of the community.
Yeah. Let the buyer beware is also known as caveat emptor. B.
Yeah, so what is ad valorem?
Ad valorem is according to the value.
Yep, according to value. Those are ad valorem taxes. So
A percentage lease is calculated on a percentage of the gross sales.
okay.
D.
What's a gross lease?
A gross lease is when you pay just like one flat rent.
Yep, you pay one flat rent. Okay. One flat rent. Next one.
A fixed rate home loan that is fully amortized according to the original payment schedule has an interest rate that fluctuates based on the economic index, cannot be sold in the secondary market, requires a monthly payment amount that fluctuates each month, permits the borrower to pay the same amount each payment period. D.
B.
No, D.
D.
Last
Permits the
one.
borrower to pay the same amount each period.
Payment
Yep.
period.
So fully amortized loan is going to be one in which it is fully paid off at the end, right? There's no balloon
Right.
payment, no lump sum.
Right.
So how do we know what a conventional loan is? What is a conventional loan?
A conventional loan is the one which is not insured by a government
Right,
agency.
it's not a government-backed loan, so it's not FHA insured or VA guaranteed.
Right.
So
Okay.
perfect.
Nelson owned 2 acres of land. He sold 1 acre to Andy and reserved himself an permanent easement over Andy's land for ingress and egress. Andy's land A can be cleared of the easement when Nelson sells the withheld acre to a third party, is a dominant tenement, is subject to an easement in growth, is a serving tenement. So Andy's will be in the serving tenement.
The servient tenement?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. So I think that's okay. Yeah, there's not much else to chew on this. Actually, what does ingress and egress mean? What does that mean?
Ingress is the entry and egress is the exit.
Yep, 100%. Perfect.
I have a lot of questions I have wrote for you.
Oh, go ahead. Ask the questions. That's why I started with, if there was anything that you wanted to go over. So yeah, go ahead, ask them.
It's from like anywhere. It's not specifically like from.
No, go ahead. Just go ahead and ask them. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to know like there are usually how many covenants in a warranty deed?
There are 6 covenants in a warranty deed, but I don't think that's going to be something you're going to be asked on the California exam.
Oh, okay. Because I read it somewhere, so I was just like curious about like.
Yeah, the exact covenants. You basically, again, I wouldn't see that you would get asked questions on that on the test.
Oh, okay. Okay. So so does an agent present the offers all together at the same time, or he gives like whenever he receives one and then he gives it to the seller?
Yeah, as soon as you get an offer, you should be presenting it as soon as possible. As soon
As
as
soon
it's
as
possible to
possible.
present it, you should be presenting it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, so prescriptive easement and easement by prescription, they are the same?
Yep, those are the same.
No, they are all the silly questions. So easement by gross does not transfer when the property is sold?
Yes, it does.
It does?
All easements run with the property.
Okay.
All
But
easements are pertinent.
okay.
Yeah, they're different. That's how they differ from like a license, because
Mhm.
licenses you could revoke. Like I could say to you, "Oh, you could use my driveway for the summer," you know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what happens is this: they're basically revocable. They're revocable interests in the property. So they're something that you could say, "Okay, yeah, I don't want you using my driveway anymore." But
Okay.
a easement always runs with the property, no matter what type of easement it is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Um, I read this somewhere. I don't know if it's relevant to the test or not. What is a degree of standardization of the property's price? Mhm.
Say that again because the first word I didn't get.
What is the degree of standardization of the property's price?
Degree or standardization of the property's price.
Yes.
It's basically, um, it, you wouldn't need to know it for the test
No?
because
Okay. Then that's
it's a
okay.
convoluted financial term. It's
Okay.
it has to do with financing, but you wouldn't have to know the degree of standardization. Yeah, that's not
Okay.
something that you would have to know.
And what about the Bulk Sales Act?
Bulk sales act, that's very easy. That's usually when you're selling a business.
Uh-huh.
When you sell a business, what happens is you have to, so like, let's say I own a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I own a restaurant, they refer to the bulk sales as the bulk transfer act as well. Let's say
Okay.
I own a restaurant and I'm operating my restaurant. What
Okay.
happens is this: I might be paying my creditors on what's referred to as net 30 or net 90 or net 60, which means that
Okay.
I owe the bill in 60 days from when I get the product. Because what happens is this: basically they say, oh, you have to you have to pay this amount, by the 30th of the month, right?
Okay.
And what happens with that is you sit there and you might have outstanding bills. So if you sell the business, basically you have to tell the new purchaser, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
new purchaser, what bills are owed and what creditors are owed before you transfer the business or the real estate with the business.
Okay. Okay. I was a little confused on that one.
Yeah, it's not super hard because again, it has to do with businesses. You might get one question on the test on that, and it would
Mm.
basically be just making sure you have an understanding of what the gist of it is.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Uh, so, about hypothecation, I know it's giving the pledge for without giving up the possession, but so that does that mean that they are living in the property at the time of hypothecation?
Uh, yes, they probably have possession and usage of it. It usually has to do with mortgages. So a
Okay.
mortgage is hypothecation.
Hmm. So they
You
are
know,
basically living in the property when they pledge. So it's kind of like when they do the second mortgage or something.
no, it would be the first mortgage. That's why I'm saying like it would probably happen. Like possession would probably happen simultaneously from hypothecation.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I also wanted to know about the double negatives, like the tip on tricks on that one. your tips and
There's
tricks?
no trick.
No.
There's no trick. I'm sorry. I wish there was. Reading
So,
carefully.
so
Yeah,
there were in the videos, Joe and you said watch for the double negatives. So that's why I just wanted to.
yeah.
It makes more easier to choose the answer.
There isn't a trick to helping you with the double negatives. It's
Mhm.
just watch out for them and understand what the question is asking you and what you're looking for. So I think that it's
Okay.
more like if you had to ask me, Stu, what would you suggest? It's about reading it carefully. You know, it's not necessarily about, you know, it's not necessarily about making sure that you're like there's a trick or something like that. What it is that it's basically making sure that you understand what they're asking you. You
Okay.
know,
Hmm.
that's the hardest part about it is
Okay.
understanding what they're asking you.
Okay. Okay. Just like few more questions.
Of course, no. Listen, this is your time, so that's why, like I said, I ask you right when we start. I'm like, hey, is there anything you want to particularly go over? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Okay. So in tenancy in common, uh, I know they can have like at ownership at a different time or a different uh, uh, the contracts, but can they be like at the same time too as well, or they can't?
Sure, of course. Yeah,
Or they can.
absolutely. So like
Oh,
when I invest in real estate, and I work with my investment partners, I
hmm,
typically am going to invest with them in a way that is going to we're probably always going to have um tenancy in common. You know, because I'm going to when I invest in something, I want to make sure that my wife would get the property when I pass away, if I do, you know. So
okay.
that's something that I want to make sure that my family would get that if I pass away. So in tenants in common, yeah, that could be created right from the jump, right from day one. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of what makes sense at the time for you and the person that you are purchasing the property with, or that you're getting
Okay.
the property with.
Okay. Perfect. So, the land contract and the wraparound mortgage, they both are seller financing.
So wraparound mortgage somewhat, but I would say this: you probably will not get a question on wraparound mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
highly unlikely that you'll get a wraparound mortgage question, but the land sale contract is seller financing, yes.
Seller financing. Okay. So in California, I know when there is a question about minor, minor cannot do the contracts, it's void. But if it's a 16-year-old person married and then divorced, if he signs a contract, is it valid, void, or voidable?
Marriage does make the person not. So I'd have to defer to see what California law is, and what I'll do is this, because that's actually a really good question. So what I'm going to
Hmm.
do is I'm actually going to ask the powers that be what
Okay.
their thought on that is.
Hmm.
So if they're under the age and they're actually if they're under the age and they're married, what would that
Hmm.
be? So I'm going to
Okay.
ask the higher ups and get back to you on that, because so I will tell you, in the states that I teach in, okay,
Okay.
state specific, marriage means that you are legal age,
Right.
right? Marriage means
Hmm.
that you are legal age, okay?
Hmm.
So
Okay. So an emancipated minor would be like who has legally took the divorce from their parents, right?
what was that?
The emancipated minor.
Yeah, it would mean that if they're emancipated, they're an adult.
Okay.
So marriage usually emancipates.
Okay. So I wanted to know about the agency by estoppel. I get confused on that one.
Sure. What confuses you on agency?
I I have seen the videos on the agency by estoppel, but I still don't understand what it is.
So agency could be created by estoppel if you've taken prior action or position that is going to be in contradiction with what you currently have. So
Okay.
what happens is this. If I said to you, oh, I'd be your agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden later on, I said, no, I don't want to be your agent anymore. Okay.
Okay.
If I was currently acting as your agent, I couldn't take a position now that contradicted that. Okay. Without us canceling
Okay.
our agency agreement. Okay. So what
Okay.
happens is that would be agency by estoppel. If there was right now, as we're examining it, because you have to understand, estoppel creates agency usually through implication. Okay, it's
Okay.
usually an implied agency creates an estoppel situation. Do you
Okay.
see what
So
I'm
it's
saying? So it's
similar to implied agency.
they're two different. So what happens is this: if we have implied agency, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
ostensible agency, that's understood through actions. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if I tried to take a position that contradicted our agency relationship, but I said, no, I'm not your agent, then what happens is my actions or what we've agreed to already would take precedence over the current situation, the current standpoint that I'm taking.
Okay.
So basically, you can't contradict yourself. That could create an
Right.
agency relationship. Do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there has to be something in place because the doctrine of estoppels basically says that there's a position or a standpoint or an agreement that is in place that you are now trying to contradict, and they're saying, no, the first one takes precedence.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have to have something in place. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is there any equitable lien?
An equitable lien. Okay. So, what do you think an equitable lien is? Let me ask you that question.
So I know the equitable title is the right to use and possess. So equitable lien would be uh, maybe they don't get to live, use, or possess.
It's really, look, you're really getting into the specifics with an equitable lien. Um,
Okay.
equitable liens are really super specific, and they're imposed by a court to maintain a certain degree of fairness in a situation in regards to surrounding properties. So that's the legal ease of it. That's my notes. That's what I have as far as it's concerned.
Okay.
Um, it's something that I'll be honest with you.
Hmm.
You really wouldn't get asked a question on equitable liens.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that was the most of out of my readings and studies.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. When you study so much, what happens is you start asking questions like, "What is an equitable lien?" You know.
Right.
So, which again, you wouldn't get asked a question on that on the test. You know,
Okay.
in California, you wouldn't get asked that. In my opinion, from
Okay.
what I've seen, I've never had a ton of people come back to me and say, "Hey, Stu, I don't know what an equitable lien is," and they asked us 3 questions on it on the test. You know,
Okay.
that doesn't come up usually. So
Right.
that being said, why don't we continue going through a bunch of these to see if, like I said, there is anything else that we could come up with that might stump you. So
Okay.
let's take a look at this one.
Okay. What type of listing agreement allows the owner to appoint an exclusive agent to sell his property, but retains the right to sell the property himself without paying a commission? It's exclusive agency.
Okay,
A.
exclusive agency. So what's an exclusive right to sell?
An exclusive right to sell, the broker gets commission paid no matter who sells the property.
Right. No matter who is the procuring cause, they are going to
Right.
get a commission. So perfect.
Yeah. All of the following are included in the bundle of rights except the right of exclusion, right of enjoyment, right of survivorship. C. Right of control of the property. C.
Yeah, right of survivorship, 100%. So when do we see right of survivorship?
It's in joint tenancy.
Okay, and what does it mean?
It means that when a person, when one joint partner dies, the everything goes to the other, the surviving partner, at he owns in the severalty then, sole
Yeah,
ownership.
so if it's two people, the remaining person would own it in severalty. Yeah, absolutely. So
So,
let's look.
is there a right of survivorship in community property too, or no?
That's state specific. So let me just look at my notes for community property because
Okay.
rights of survivorship. Um, it says community property with rights of survivorship.
Okay.
So it looks like they might. Yeah, it looks like they might have
Okay.
rights of survivorship and community property. So yes, community property. And typically, when you have that, when you have any kind of marriage law, there's usually rights of survivorship there. So community property does have rights of survivorship.
Okay.
So
Which of the following types of depreciation would be the most difficult to cure? It's economic obsolescence.
okay, yeah, because that's outside of the property, right?
Yes. Right.
Perfect.
Neighbor A uses neighbor B's driveway to reach A's garage, which of their proper which is on their property. B's attorney explains that the ownership rights of A's real estate includes an easement pertinent, giving them the right to use the B's driveway. In this case, B's property is the servant tenant leasehold interest.
You want to say servient?
It's it's servant, yes.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing really well. Like like I said, you know a lot of things. So that's why what happens is I always tell people like yourself not to overdo it because then you start looking for other things that you don't know that you don't need to know.
Right.
You
No,
know,
this prep agent, when I joined this it made like everything so much easier. Like I was reading on my own first, so but then I got confused in the questions. I didn't, but you guys, like everybody explained like in the simplest ways, so it makes sense to everything. So I can like tell like what it is. So thank you
no,
to prep
listen,
agent.
I appreciate. Look, we appreciate that, and that's what we're here for. You know, look, I wouldn't have a job if other teachers. So I appreciate when other teachers and other programs don't explain it as well as we do, because then that means that I still have job. I have job security. So let's go to
Right.
the next one.
Okay. All of the following essential elements of every valid contract are the essential elements of every valid contract except the legal act, payment of money. It's B.
Okay. Yeah, because you have to have capable parties, legal act, meeting of
Right.
the minds, all that stuff. Okay, but you
Okay.
don't need to have the payment of money.
Right. Parcel of the property was purchased by two friends. The deed they received from the seller at closing The deed they received from the seller at closing conveyed the property by name to each of the two friends with equal shares and interest. Upon death of either owner, the interest and shares will automatically become those of the other co-owner. What form of what form of title and ownership do the friends have joint tenants.
Joint tenants?
Yes,
Are you sure?
yes.
Yeah, there you go. Joint tenants. Okay, so why was it joint tenants? What was the key there?
The key was there when it said that upon the death of either owner, it will automatically transfer uh, to the other co-owner.
Bingo, bingo. That was the key right there. So here's the thing: if it didn't have that, what would they be?
If it didn't have that, then it would might be the because it says equal shares and interest, maybe tenants in common.
It would be tenants in common, and here's why. The default, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the default is always tenants in common.
Okay.
Okay, that's the presumptive. So that's what we would refer to it as. We would refer to it as the presumptive way in which they would take title, and
Okay.
always the presumptive way in which people take title to a property is going to be tenants in common if it's more than one.
Okay.
Okay, if it's just one, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then it's always severalty. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
more than one and they don't state how they're taking title to a property, it would be
Mm.
tenants in common as the default.
So
Yeah.
so about the community property, that actually made me confused. So I wasn't sure about the answer in tenants in common because the community property has two partners too, but it's husband and wife, right? It
Right.
says
It's husband
friends.
and wife. So community
Okay.
property is always husband and wife. So that's why if it's two people and it's
Mm-hmm.
not husband and wife, that's why I didn't say husband and wife.
Right.
If it's two
Right.
people and they don't make they don't declare anything, it's always going to default to tenants in common.
Okay. And the tenancy, it was the tenancy by entirety. What was that one?
That is, you don't have that in California. Let me
Oh,
just,
okay. That's why I
I'm
don't
just
know.
gonna double check. Tenancy by entirety, California. Um, does have, yeah, it's not because you have community property. It's the same as,
Okay.
so here's the thing, tenancy by the entirety is the same as community property for other states.
Oh, okay, okay. That's right. I didn't know
Yeah.
about that.
So they call, so what happens is on the national webinars, we talk about tenancy by the entirety only because it's a lot of states recognize. I think there's only like 6 or 7 states that that actually whatchamacallit, that actually recognize community property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's look at this one.
A broker has listed Mr. Applegate's property under net listing. He also has an option to purchase the property within 30 days. If after 27 days the broker decides to buy the property, he must disclose any profit he makes, inform the seller of any additional offers on the property, disclose all the material facts known to him and to the seller, or all of the options. Correct. I would say C.
Okay, disclose all the material.
Yes. Like he should tell the seller, no?
All the options. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Uh, because remember we were talking about it, they have to inform the seller of any of all offers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the
Additional offers.
situation there.
Okay. So I thought in the question it was asking about if the broker decides to buy the property, then he should tell the seller that he is doing so. That's why.
Sure. So he has to disclose all the material facts known to him and the seller, but the situation is they have to also, like, he's still representing the seller, so he
Mm-hmm.
still has to inform the seller of all the offers on the property.
Okay. Like everything, whatever he makes, anything. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's all the options are correct because
Okay.
they're all those things that he would have to disclose.
Okay.
Next one.
Under a lease for the commercial property, a tenant agrees to pay $4,000 per month plus 3% of the gross monthly sales. This type of lease is called a percentage lease.
What's a net lease?
Net lease is where a tenant pays the taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs.
Yep. So they pay for all the expenses, all the expenses, right?
Right.
They pay for that. They pay for all the expenses. All right.
Okay.
So next one.
Mortgage bankers typically are the ultimate lenders in most non-government loan transactions, do not finance construction loans, will not act without the consent of their principals, originate a large number of loan transactions, and then sell these mortgages at a discount to large investors in the secondary market. D,
Okay. B,
no, D.
D. Yeah, originate a large number of loan transactions and sell these mortgages. So what's a mortgage broker?
Mortgage broker is the one who uh, um, they they help the buyer and the lender. He's the I know, but I can't really explain it.
Okay, so mortgage banker. So the difference between a banker and a broker. Let me explain. You ready?
Okay.
So
Yes.
a banker could use their own money.
Mhm.
Okay. The
Okay.
broker basically uses other money, money from other lending institutions. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they'll do that. So a lot
Okay.
of my mortgage brokers are bankers as well, but they broker most of the deals. That's
Okay.
typically how it works, typically in the real world.
Okay.
So, next one.
A woman a woman has permission from her friend to hike on his property during the autumn months. Her friend has granted her riparian rights and easement by necessity, license or conditional use permit. So here I get confused when it says license and a conditional use permit.
So
So
which one
it
do
is
you think it is?
so it says autumn months. Maybe it's for just like during that period. So maybe conditional use permit D,
Okay, this one's going to be a
a
license.
license.
Okay, so
Okay.
so a license is going to be, so what happens is this, they don't, so here's what I'll explain to you. Um, Permits are granted by the city,
Okay.
right? Because think about it, you apply for a permit, that's from the city or the municipality.
Okay.
A license is from a private individual. So a private homeowner would say, "Oh yeah, you could park your car in my driveway." Absolutely, that's
Mhm.
a situation there. So let's look at the
Okay.
next one.
Stephen Douglas has been burning leaves on his front lawn. His neighbors have filed a lawsuit and have received a court order ordering him to stop burning leaves. That court order would be called an injunction.
An
It's,
injunction. Let's see. Okay, an injunction. So we talked about. Did we talk about a list pendants?
yes, it is.
Did we mention a list pendants before? I don't remember.
Yes, we did. A list pending
Okay,
lawsuit.
perfect. So what's a writ of execution?
Writ of execution is when the court gives the order to sell the property to satisfy the creditors.
Yeah, so it's basically a writ of execution is, executing any court order, okay?
Okay.
Um, an injunction is a court order to stop something. You're kind of
Okay.
how I remember it is you're injecting yourself into something that's currently happening.
Okay. Yes.
A writ of execution is executing something that, the court has ordered.
Okay. A property owner lists his property for sale with a broker. During the negotiations, the owner told the broker that the owner wanted 138,000 for the property, and anything above of the amount the broker could keep his commission. The listing is a net listing.
Okay, net listing. So let me ask you this. Why would a tenant want to do that? Like, why would they want to do that?
Uh, I have no idea.
So everyone always knows what a net listing is, and then I ask them that question, and they go, "I don't know any tenant that would want to do that." So I've worked with a lot of large corporations like Target, Best Buy, things like that, and what has happened is this: the those tenants do not have the liquid capital to go out and buy 15 properties, right? Like they don't have that. And also they don't want to do that. They don't want to go out and buy 15 properties where they have to commercial space where they have to put out all that capital and then be, landowners. So
Yeah.
what they want to do is they want to rent, and
Mhm.
then what they want to do is this. They want to rent and get all the benefits of ownership. So they want to get all the write-offs. So that's why they're willing to pay all the expenses.
Okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yes.
So they
Thank
don't want
you.
to own anything. They want to rent and they want to get the benefits of ownership. So let's look at this
Okay.
one.
It would be perfectly ethical for an appraiser to do which of the following? Appraise a property in which the appraiser's employment is made. Hi. And appraise a property in which the appraiser's employment is made contingent upon the reporting of minimum value. Appraise a property in which the appraiser has an interest provided the appraiser first discloses his interest. Not disclose his interest if the property is under 2 units. Base the appraiser compensation on a percentage of the value estimate arrived at. Ethical for an appraiser.
So what would they be able to do?
Appraiser has an interest discloses. B, I would say B.
Yep. So as long as he discloses his interests, he's all good 100%. So let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
Um, Before we wrap up, do you have any questions, concerns, or is there anything else that you would like to go over?
Uh, that would be all, but there was like one question on the Facebook group that nobody could answer and everybody's confused. So I am confused in that one too.
Which one was that?
It says that if I am leasing or renting, then do I have A, estate for years, B, periodic tenancy, C, estate at will, or D, estate in sufferance? So
All
I
those,
said it's
all those are less than freehold estates. All those are leasehold estates. So
yes,
there's not enough information to answer it.
yeah. That's
Can't be.
why everybody's confused. Like question is incomplete, maybe.
It's totally incomplete. There's definitely something missing. Can't differentiate.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was it. I think
All right. Well, look, good. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I have one other question for you, though, because I think that we went through a lot of things and you did
okay.
really well. Would it be okay if I put this on the YouTube channel?
Yes, that's fine.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely do that. And what I'll tell you is this, like I said, ask me any other questions that you might have, and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay?
Okay, perfect. And it was nice talking to you too. And
Same here, same here. I know you're always in the webinars, always chatting, so I always appreciate it. And look, I'll see you back in the webinars and ask any questions you have, okay?
okay, perfect. Thank you. And can I also get the link for this video too, so that I can like all
Sure.
my
Yeah,
questions?
I'll email it to you, okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Stu. Thank you so
Not
much.
a problem.
Really
Take
appreciate it.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.